Everything is extremely important, all the addresses as well. But now the most important stuff begins, because we will start to send messages. And we have someone with us who, through his direct messages, can make a difference between what is simply news and what is important events. We have with us moderator Mr. Dimitris Kambourakis, who can do precisely that. Good evening to you all. Let me put my stuff down here because I have to go to work. Thank you very much for your introduction, Mr. Grigoris. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm truly delighted to be with you tonight. My mission is a bit difficult, however, because the forum has to end. We have to draw conclusions and also do that before sunrise. I don't know this region a lot. I must admit I used to go through with a minister or a prime minister, but I didn't know the region as a whole. And you are indeed blessed. I must verify this. You are indeed. I've lived in Athens for many years. I come from Crete. I've seen many tourism and business destinations. But here you have certain advantages that cannot be found elsewhere. For example, what you consider to be a negative fact up till now, the fact that you were slightly lagging behind, could be a great advantage because you have a virgin area. And now, with the modern laws and legislations, this region can avoid all the problems of other areas that have been destroyed, for example, the northern axis of Crete, and move forward to the next step, what is green, sustainable, profitable. You have this opportunity. And also, I would like to please ask you, I never understood why the people of Thessaloniki and northern Greece are jealous of the people in Athens. What is Athens, after all? Nothing at all. You are an hour away from all the capital cities of the Balkans. Athens is 6 years away. And this is the center, historical as well. So we'll be covering 2 units. I will be moderating them, and I would like to invite right away the participants to come and join me on stage. The first session will hold a discussion on infrastructure. I would like to invite, first of all, Mr. Nikos Tachiaos, Deputy Minister of Infrastructure, you know him well, to come forward. Good evening, Minister, and welcome. I would also like to invite Mr. Dimitris Vartzopoulos, Deputy Minister of Health. Good evening to you, too. Your microphones are turned on already. Mr. Zografakis, Georgios, CEO of Egnatia Aviation, please come forward.
Παρακαλώ την κυρία Maria Toktor.
And finally, Mrs. Maria Toktor, who is the head of strategy development for Grecian Air Seaplanes.
Καθίστε. Να είστε καλά. Εγώ θα πηγαίνω έρχομαι, γιατί το προτιμώ.
Please take your seats. I'll be walking around. So, we're talking about jobs. We're talking about development of the region. And look down there, we have a timer, 42 minutes. So, I'd like to ask you to say what you're going to say and be to the point. And let me begin, just to give an idea to the audience, with an old anecdote which says, it has to do with work and jobs. So once there were a few Americans who went on a space trip and organized an international competition. You don't mind, Mr. Kourtidis, if I tell a joke. So they did an international competition on who would join this mission to space. That was very difficult and important. They had this international competition and many people applied. A German applied. He said, I can go there, I have all the necessary attributes, but I want 5 million to go. And the jury said, that's too much money. Yes, but I might lose my life. I have a family and children. If I don't come back, they need to be covered. The Frenchman then came forward and said, I want 10 million to go to space. Why 10? The German wanted 5. Well, I don't care. I know I'm qualified. I have a family, children, father, mother, lover. I need to cater for them. And then a Greek, an old-fashioned Greek. So how much do you want to go to space? And he said, I want 50 and I'll get the job for you. He says, how are you going to get the job with 50? Well, look, he said to the American, or rather to the juror, 20 to you, who signs the paper, 20 to me, who applies, and 10 to the ridiculous German who is prepared to go up there and kill himself. That's the way things were done in the past. But the point is not to do them like that anymore, and to have the region develop without things happening in this way anymore. So let me start with you, Minister, Mr. Tachiaos. You are the Deputy Minister of Infrastructure. Is the infrastructure good in this region? Mediocre? Bad? To be developed? Hopeful? What would you say?
I will start from your last work, hopeful. And without hope, we don't have anything. I would like to thank Mr. Kourtidis, Ms. Dimitrova for the invitation. It's a great honor for me to be here, and it's also a challenge because you brought me back to my birthplace. It's a great pleasure to address people who don't follow the model that you describe of Greek people. They are Greek people who believe in their land, who know how to cooperate in order to move their land and their birthplace forward. Kostas Goulegas is much better than me in expressing that. But what I wanted to say that a characteristic trait of the people of Macedonia is that they're straightforward, and we're very similar to the people from Crete. Infrastructure. In Amphipolis, I used to come with my father many, many years ago, and we came here to see the lion of Amphipolis, next to Struma River. That was a long road and tiring from Thessaloniki. And when I visited Eastern Macedonia and Thrace, you remember the old road, and it was so tiring, so difficult. And we created this very important infrastructure, Egnatia motorway. Egnatia motorway is an infrastructure whose completion was accomplished during the Kostas Karamanlis government. It cost over 5 billion Greek drachmas, and it crossed northern Greece, and it really changed Epirus, Macedonia, and Thrace. It also crosses part of Thessaly, a very small part of Thessaly. It crosses 4 regions. It was such an important infrastructure work, and it brought to the surface areas and places that we'd forgotten. So when we talk about infrastructure, we should always have in mind how they are created. And we should clarify, first of all, that if something helped us move forward. This was our joining the EU, because we had funds from the EU, which allowed us to create major infrastructure works and to change the economy in many regions. Let me change the picture we had in the beginning. I told you that you brought me to my birthplace. I crossed this blessed plains of Western Macedonia. It's very different from Thessaly, from Crete, of course. The greenhouses of Hierapetra, which have a huge agricultural production. But what does this comparison allow us to do? It allows us to remember that apart from services, we also have other growth sectors which we shouldn't forget. The fact that we have some very inspired businessmen who invest in tourism. We should also focus on the primary sector, not just tourism, which gives added value to tourism. The wine from Drama, doesn't it give added value to tourism? You know that very well, of course. But you know what someone said next to me? They promised us this road network, but it hasn't started yet. The next chapter, because you're so focused on this road network. Now, the second thing I wanted to discuss in order to broaden the picture. Why am I here? Because we had the old Ministry of Public Works, which creates public infrastructure work. We should put some factors here in the equation. Things in Europe have changed. Things in Europe are as follows. First, at this moment, infrastructure works are not a priority for the EU. For example, the transport program, which in the previous programming period had 18 euros, now has 2-point-something billion euros, and it covers the entire Greece. The second is that the recovery fund will not exist forever. We don't have a will for a continuation. We are going to have some funds from that, but infrastructure based on the terms and conditions of the recovery fund could not be supported. This is the reality. The third thing is that the public investment program is quite limited. The funds given by the taxed Greek are very small, and they are usually focused on maintenance works, what is really necessary. That doesn't mean that we cannot have more works by leveraging private funds. This is the key. This is what we see as a reality in Chania and Iraklio, a road network, but also the road network for from Drama to Amphipolis, this well-known project that is underway. It is now in the process of calls. We are now at the stage, the B1 stage. 3 different groups which are going to submit an offer. Will have a consultation with the state, which will conclude with the final profile of the project. This is a project which will definitely change the region, and we expect to have contracts in 2025. It's taking a lot of time. Not that long, but let me say that the maturity time for a project is such as this is quite long, because we have private funds. Banks which will fund it have to be sure that this project is going to be finished, and they have to be sure that this is going to be profitable. It's going to take 3 years to construct, and for the following 27 years, a private body will be responsible for the operation and profitability and maintenance of the road. The next road network is Ceres Drama Kavala. Does this government has difficulty giving things to private bodies, the Mitsotakis government? Is it having a lot of pressure not to give projects to private and we have too much state? I don't think there is a government that believes more in private initiatives. Let me tell you that the great change we're going to see in Greece is the contract for Egnatia motorway. You know that now we have Terna, a company that is responsible for running the motorway. The concession has already been signed, and in the summer it's going to be approved by the parliament. And people will say that you sold it off. No, the price is very high. It's very high. But you will see. What do we have? We have the final major motorway paid by the Greek state that does not have the same standards compared to other motorways. I would like to inform you that this is going to be the future of Egnatia motorway. We're going to have the same standards as other European motorways. We're going to have full maintenance, certify the tunnels to A category, check all bridges of Gallikos River, Loudia River, etc. Thank you very much, Mr. Minister.
Mr. Vartzopoulos. Tourists who want to come and visit the region from the US, from Europe, who are invited by investors, first of all ask, how close is the airport? Okay, I want to go and stay in Amphipolis or in Ofrinio or somewhere else. So how close is the airport first? Easy access. And second, where is the closest hospital? These are the key questions. Without healthcare facilities, nothing can be done. And this is of great importance for the local population and for investors and for local growth. So how have you mapped this region with regard to healthcare? I know that there are 2 or 3 hospitals, but what state are they in and what can be done? First of all, I'd like to tell you that I may be here under this ministerial capacity, but I'm even more interested in this because I am a member of parliament representing the second sector of Thessaloniki, the western tip of Strymonian Gulf. Is in the municipality of Volvi, on the tip of Thessaloniki. This coastline begins from the municipality of Thessaloniki, spreads to Ceres and Kavala. So this is something that is of great interest to us also as people living in Thessaloniki, because we cannot simply have one side developing, we need to develop the whole area. So there is great interest on many sides. Now, thankfully, we are speaking about a beautiful region which is located in a very busy part of northern Greece, surrounded by large centers where there are also large hospital units, naturally. For example, the hospital of Ceres, the hospital of Kavala also, which are located very close to this region, and the network of hospitals in Thessaloniki, which, thanks to good road access, can be accessed easily. You said that tourists ask about this. Well, we need to keep this in mind. Of course, during the tourist period, the number of potential users increases greatly. We have hundreds of thousands of potential users. And that's where we need to keep in mind that this mobile population does not have the same healthcare requirements as the permanent population. What does this mean? Yes, for example, they crash with their motorbikes and need orthopedics. Yes. So what we expect are specific injuries of specific frequency, and what we need to have in these areas, close to these areas, is medical staff in high intensity, because we need to address bites, stings, minor infections for children, for local adults. You don't need a hospital for this, you need a doctor at hand. And that makes things a bit harder, because when we have a major accident that will need a hospital, then what is needed is a good road connection, and we have that. We need a properly working ambulance service, of course. And we have a sector in Rodolivos, which is very good at this. And also there's a plan to create here in this region one of the key stations for transfers. And this is part of the key programming of the ambulance service for the future. But what we need, as I said, is we need sufficient doctors here at peak tourism periods. There are health centers in the region, but during the tourist period, these health centers need more staff. And this is something that we haven't done until now, but we are planning for next year. Because I noticed this by traveling to various tourist regions during the period prior to the European elections. The national health system provides the services to Greek people for free. You know this, and it will continue to do so. Which means that if a tourist comes here to Tuzla or somewhere else to have a swim or enjoy some time at a hospital, if a person will be serviced by the local health center or the hospital for free. But should that continue to happen? I suppose they have their health card from their own insurance services, right? And for example, the German office should be able to pay for this. Yes, you're right. All hospitals are prepared to conduct transactions with foreign insurance funds. They are prepared to do so, and it's easier to do so in Europe. Of course, in some areas, as in Chalkidiki, we have the so-called road tourism, which means that we don't have major tour operators involved. People travel alone. I was traveling in Epirus before the elections, and some doctors at the health centers asked me, where do I pay? And we don't have such a service. So this is what we're discussing with the minister. You know that foreigners, particularly Europeans, do have insurance coverage, and the people from Bulgaria and Romania as well. Yes, but when you ask for money, ask only the foreigners, because if you ask the Greeks, that'll be the end of you. Yes, services to Greek citizens, you know, are free whether they are insured or not. But you know that if we have such a mechanism in place, and we can do that, and we will do that next year, then this will bring in more income to the national health system, thanks to all these initiatives. And then we will be able to give the opportunity to young doctors to come and work part-time also in the National Health Service, or for a limited period. And this combination of funding through the provision of services to tourists can also give us the opportunity to have a stronger presence in the healthcare sector. Oh, Why not build a surgery along the coast? There are such health centers in Ofrinio and in other parts of the region, and that's where the doctors will be working. Thank you, sir. Okay. Yes, the truth is that indeed you can invest in this region without any problem because we are covered with regard to healthcare services in this region.
Let's go to Mr. Zografakis now. I didn't know him. Are you the CEO of Egnatia Aviation, right? Right. CEO, I know what that is. A chief executive officer, the big boss. Egnatia Aviation, they told me that you certify pilots. Let's see how we have a surplus value in a region. Let's leave health and go to flying words. Our business started 18 years ago. Yes, we are, our headquarters are in Kavala. I lived in Great Britain, and I realized that Greece has so many islands, so many airports, and it's very close to Arab countries. And you can come here to rent a boat or anything else, a scooter, but you can't rent a plane, even though you have the necessary certification. In Europe, we have 136,000 small airplanes. 43,000 of those can travel, but we do not allow them to come to Greece. 650,000 people who are not allowed to come here. Why? For a number of reasons. When we talk about airports in Greece, we talk about a port which services passport and freight and cargo planes. We do not allow small planes to come for many reasons, contrary to Schengen policy, which allows the free movement of people and goods. They take their private plane, and they may need 120 euros to come to an international airport, to pay 600 and 700 to come to Greece, and then 600, 700 to leave Greece. So this is too much. Are they rich people? But if you have your own small plane, aren't you rich? No, they may be part of a club where 5 or 6 people use the same plane, and they travel in groups or individually around Europe. What did you do here? So we came here 18 years ago, very close to where we are now. We saw a plot of land, and we thought that we can create an airport, which we're not interested in passport or cargo planes, and we could create a private plane airport. We managed to do that. 8 years ago, we took an unused airport and create the first private airport, not for passengers of international flights. And we had the support of the state, but the minister who put their final signature in the national Ministry of National Defense is Mr. Panayotopoulos, and he's from Kavala. If it weren't for this minister and this ministry, he wouldn't be able to do it. Because when they were members of parliament, they tried, but they failed. We are here in Kavala because, as you said, it's very close to many different capitals in Europe. If you want to go to Paros You will come from our airport. The fees for international airports are huge. I had a plane from Turkey. They paid 700 euros to come here and to leave. If we do not create the infrastructure to welcome alternative tourism, which is out there, these people are never going to come here. Why should we welcome only international flight passengers, not private flight passengers? But it's not easy to do that in Greece. The state does not allow you. The services, the people around you. We have a rule that we create everything in one size. Refueling is only for large planes. How many people work there? We couldn't have this airport, so we started training people for private companies, pilots. We want to reverse the brain drain, especially for pilots. They don't go to the US or other countries. We have 320 students, not just Greeks, but also people from abroad. We should do the same for private airplanes. We recently created, the state created a committee for aviation. And what do they say now? The authority for civil aviation say, okay, you're right, but we have a provision only for passenger airports, so that's a problem. And since we started this discussion, we now move to Ms. Maria Toktor, who is the head for strategic development of water airports, Grecian Air Seaplanes.
Mr. Kambourakis, first of all, allow me to congratulate the municipality of Amphipolis, Kortidis Group. I am lucky enough to personally know Mr. Kortidis, Mrs. Dimitrova and their team, and I would like to wish them wholeheartedly to continue their business miracles. Today's event, I hope, will become an institution that will continue year on year and strongly support the local community. This is a very important initiative, and I believe that we all think that it will indeed continue. You said earlier, Mr. Kambourakis, that tourists ask, where is the closest airport? Well, from now onwards, they will also ask, where is the closest water airport? Grecian Air Seaplanes and Hellenic Seaplanes, these are two different companies, and they come under the umbrella of an international investment group, which is present in 5 countries: Germany, Switzerland, Greece, Cyprus, and the Arab Emirates, United Arab Emirates. And Grecian Air and Hellenic Seaplanes are companies which, following a decision made in our group to invest in this project of national significance, and I believe that you all shall agree, is a company that wanted to see, first of all, whether we have the governmental will, let's say, for such a project. And we soon found out that this government is pro-investors. So we acquired Hellenic Seaplanes from Toktor, which is the only company that has fully licensed and established water airports. And we established Grecian Airplanes, which will undertake the aviation part. So the seaplanes will be done by the Grecian Air Seaplanes, and Hellenic Seaplanes will be in charge of the water airports. So, in close collaboration with the Ministry of Infrastructure and Transport, currently 69 licenses are underway all over Greece for water airports, 69 in total. So we may be traveling by seaplane soon. 69 water airports, so you're covering the whole of the country. Yeah, we're creating the largest network of water airports in Europe, starting from Greece. Yes, because we have all the islands. Yes, this project will exceed 280 million initially, and the seaplanes that will be able to use them will exceed 63. So when you go to a port and you say, I want to establish a water airport, do the port authorities usually say yes? Do the aviation authorities usually say yes? Well, we're trying to create a sustainable network of water airports all over Greece. Yes, but are they helping you or are they making your life difficult? Well, with a new legislative framework, which is pro-investment, we have overcome many bureaucratic barriers, and that's why we have gone forward. Many important steps have been made, and we believe that in 2025, we will be able to fly our planes in Greece. Yes, so we'll be able to test the seaplanes. Well, I saw many people who are well aware of this project, such as Mr. Zografakis and Mr. Tavros here, who is one of the key transport experts in Greece. I think they will agree with me on this. Seaplanes are a safe, flexible, fascinating, environmentally friendly means of transport, which changes the transportation map of the whole of Greece by connecting the islands of Greece with continental Greece, breathing life to all isolated islands. So apart from islands and coastal areas, will seaplanes be used for lakes such as Yanni and Kastoria? Yes, of course. Yes, that is already underway. Great, thank you very much. And warmest congratulations. Let's see. I don't think I'll ever manage to travel by seaplane. However, Minister, a few words. Well, it's not part of my portfolio, actually. I don't know what you will be doing in the future, but Minister, do you see the region taking on a different image in the next 10 years? Yes, certainly. This region, first of all, we're talking about two regions. Well, that's a mistake. It's the same vital space, basically. It's just one vital space. Kavala drama has always been part of Macedonia. So we're talking about the same vital area which has expanded. And what is most important is what we said at the beginning. Right now we have an open border with Bulgaria, which was something that was impossible in our day and age. With Albania, North Macedonia, from Kosovo, they're trying to get visas to come down to Greece to have a swim in the sea or fix their car at a petrol station. With Serbia, with Romania. So they can come here easily, and we will add more infrastructure that will make this journey even more facilitated. However, what we didn't point out at the beginning is this. Why is this region so different? For the same reason that Crete stands out. It's different, it stands out because of its people. And do believe me, the characters of the people of Macedonia and those of the people of Crete are very similar with regard to the sense of hospitality, of duty, of patriotism. They are people who love their country, their land, and this is one of the key advantages of this region. And something more. In Crete, you have worked on something very well, and that is the Cretan myth. I have heard a few words about the local history as well. Very nice, very interesting. We weren't told all this at school so well. Those who read about them have learned a bit more. We have some images in mind, but all this needs to create a myth for this region, and the myth of this region will bring added value. I heard Alexander the Great. I heard about investors from Iran. Who do they know in Iran? Iskandar, Alexander the Great. The myth of the region is something that we need to valorize. And this cannot be done on its own by the region of Central Macedonia, Eastern Macedonia. Mr. Kurtidis, Mrs. Dimitrova. We all need to work on the local myth and connect it to the cosmopolitan nature of this myth, which has to do with our connection with the rest of the Balkans and other lands that we can invite to visit us here. You go to Crete by plane, for example, or by boat. You can't drive. You can't go by road like you can here. But what did Crete have to offer? A myth that created its future. Well, we have the future, we have the people, we have the preconditions, we are creating the infrastructure. Let's find our own myth and connect it to all this and lead this region into the future. Minister, a few words from you.
I believe, because as I said, I've been working in this region for many years, so I believe that the growth potential is very high, especially given Balkan tourism from Bulgaria, from Romania, from other Balkan countries. And it's easy to reach the country, and we should make it easy to reach, giving special emphasis to the infrastructure at the border crossings. We know that approach to Chalkidiki and finding accommodation is becoming more and more difficult. Where can we have high and qualitative growth potential? Here. If you look at the coastal front from Evros to Pieria, the only potential that we have for growth, which can promote this exponential increase from tourism in the Balkans. So do you know how many people from Turkey we have in Chalkidiki during the weekend from Turkey? Hundreds of people. Mr. Kambourakis, before we close, I would like to add something. We're very interested in the region, and with the support of the minister, we are creating a network of water airports in Kavala, in Thassos, in Samothraki, in Alexandroupolis, and this region can be a hub if we interconnect cruise ships. They could have tour flights. So we are completing this network of waterplanes. Stay here to get your gift. Please stand, but don't go.
Αναχωρείς.
Εκ μέρους του Σεβασμιωτάτου Μητροπολίτου Ζυχνών και Νευροκοπή.
On behalf of His Reverence, the Metropolitan Bishop of Nevrokopi, and we would like to wish you the best of success. We hope that this beautiful event has a beautiful ending. Everything has a good ending when the us is the priority and not the profit. And Mr. Kurtidis is really trying in our municipality, but Mr. Kurtidis, as a businessman, has shown that he loves this area and he does his best to create jobs, etc. But what I would like to ask you, all the speakers said something very beautiful. Amphipolis did not become famous because of Kasta, but because of Apostle Paul, whose second stop was here. Thank you. His Reverence wishes you the best and the best for this area. You have his best wishes. And remember, where collective action reigns, everything will go very well with the help of God and Apostle Paul, who blessed this land. On behalf of His Reverence, I wish you to have a very good night. I'm very pleased to have Mr. Kambourakis here with us. He supported me when I had personal difficulties. The associate of the tourism sector of the Kourtidis group will give this special gift to our guests.
Και μία φωτογραφία, Κατερίνα.
Ευχαριστούμε θερμά.
Thank you very much indeed.
Λοιπόν, για να συνεχίσουμε.
Let us continue. Nikos Kourtidis, I am addressing myself to you. The forum will get better every year. In 3 years, it will be even better than the Delphi Forum, and in 10 years, it will be as good as the Davos Forum.
Τώρα λοιπόν θα καλέσω τον...
Now I would like to call to the podium Mr. Michalis Lefantzis. I met him today, and it was such a pleasure to meet him. He's an architect who is head of the studies for the restoration of the restoration service of ancient monuments from the Ministry of Culture. He will say a few things. He is an excellent speaker.
Θα πάρεις μικρόφωνο, προτιμάς να περπατάς?
Ναι, βέβαια.
Ωραία.
Θα σας τετραγωνίζομαι, κανονικά.
Ναι.
Λοιπόν,
Κοίταξε.
να βάλουμε... Φυσικά, το PowerPoint. Λοιπόν, τις αρχές του 1960...
In the early 1960s, the dearly departed Mr. Lazaridis excavated the Kasta Tomb. He had high hopes and high expectations for this monument. And what he did was that he discovered the entire Amphipolis. He excavated the walls of the ancient city, and then from 1963 to 1978, he had conducted an extended excavation in the Kasta Tomb, and he expected to find something very significant. But the times were different, the means were different, and Mr. Lazaridis, having found a number of graves, he discovered the network of this necropolis. He decided that this was an emblematic monument. But in 1978, we had a very sad ending to this excavation. In 2009, Katerina Peristeri, after many years, decides to continue the excavations at the top of the Kasta Tomb, Tumulus Tomb. You see Lazaridis' project here, and Ms. Peristeri, with my contribution, and Mr. Kochliaridis, we decided to cut a number of sections in what Mr. Lazaridis believed were the regional walls, and we continued this excavation. The Kasta tumulus was in this condition when we started our excavation in 2009. This is from 2012, and I have a picture. This picture that you see here is from the first meters of the surrounding walls of the tomb in early 2012. So we have a series of decisions. Earlier, I heard that the Kasta tomb was discovered 10 years ago. Yes, the tomb. But for the tomb to be discovered, we had to go through an entire process that I'm going to talk about. We found the first meters of the surrounding walls, then the marble shield, and then we realized that the walls had two parts which were constructed at the same time, this shield and the wall after that, and we are missing more than 2,000 marble parts that were taken during the Roman period. This is from September, October 2012. And then we reach the 14th of July 2013 when we discover part of the walls with its covering. So where would the marbles go? The covering marbles. And we saw many parts around the walls. 95% was discovered then, and it was part of the surrounding wall. So we collected these marble parts, and we saw that the podium of the lion was constructed with these slabs from the walls. They are part of the same monument. So we tried to find the other parts because we found only 500 out of the 2,000. So these 1,500, based on the archive study, we realized that a company, Monkulen company, took them and used them to construct a bridge. And this is the 1930s, a dam, sorry, and this is from the 1930s, a photo from the 1930s, and you can see the slabs, the marble slabs that we're missing, and they're still in the Kerkini Lake dam, buried under tons of sand. So we had a series of discussions about the geometry of the tomb, the initial plans, the study of the lion. We studied the lion, and we thought that the slabs that have been created, that have been used for the lion, were similar to the ones used in the surrounding walls. I went to Munich a few days ago. They all agreed that this lion was at the top of the tomb. And we had a number of studies, geotechnical studies, geostatics studies, etc., for the monument, which combine all disciplines. This is an interdisciplinary project. And the conclusion is that all the findings should be returned to the initial position. The third image on the right shows us all the material from the excavation which should be returned to the tumulus. The stages of the tumulus, we have a small hill with a wooden pillar at the top, and we can talk about that later if you wish. And the second stage, which is the construction of the monumental emblematic tomb of Kasta, which has a very large perimeter, and it is from slopes from 5 to 12 meters. And here we can see the construction phases of the monument as we concluded many years ago from our studies. The opening on the gate. This does not have a gate. the level of the wall, but above the wall, which means that what was important was the article, the material that we had on top of the tumulus and not in the tomb. We can see this is the representation of its initial image. Here you can see a representation, and as we found it in 2014, the condition of the tumulus, some of it was had collapsed, etc. And this photo is from the 8th of August 2014, when they found the tomb, and the entire country learned that this emblematic monument was discovered in Amphipolis. You can see the studies. We don't have enough time. I have very little time to say a few things. A few things about the wings of the sphinxes. Just a few days ago, we had a return. We're going to decide to return the fragments of the wings and the head of the Eastern Sphinx, the caryatids, of course, the very well-known mosaic of Persephone with the surrounding decor, the door, which will also be returned to its initial position, the burial chamber, the sketches and some photographs with the details of the arch. Something very important for the arch of the specific monument is that it had an outside coverage with an insulation, this black layer, which was dated by two laboratories in 400 BC, plus minus 20 years. Stages of restoration. The most difficult attempt was to restore the architrave over the caryatids. And you can see the final image of the tumulus. We are going to have a restoration of the geometry and to give it its initial shape. And of course, we had an identification of 45 elements. These parts should return to their initial positions in the tomb. You can see the connections that show us the initial positions of these elements. You can see the restoration works, and the goal was to create a shell which would help us understand the geometry and all the dimensions and the scale of the initial shell of the entry. So we created this minimalist shell, which should be supported by the marble walls. Here you can see the representation. We have a metal construction. And here we have 3D representations and photographs of recent photographs of the Kasta Tomb, where we have this minimal structure. The next stage of our research and work in the tomb is the restoration of the wings of the sphinxes, the restoration of the head of the sphinxes, the authentic elements which will return to their initial positions, and of course the entire decoration and the lifting of all the metal support works. And of course the Persephone mosaic. Mr. Kambourakis saw the very important mosaic. This was what I wanted to say very briefly. I was really impressed and so moved. And these are heavy science. I didn't say what I said today, but he explained how they created this supporting pillar. I saw how anxious he was. That was the most difficult part of our work. You're very lucky to have him here, and I know because I've talked to many people, and he really loves it. I feel very moved, very emotional, because I've made 4-hour speeches for the restoration and the architecture of this tomb, but it's the first time that I've discussed this in Amphipolis, and I would really like to thank Amphipolis for giving me this opportunity. And I would like, and the Ministry of Culture would like you to love this monument. Thank you very much. And something final, a final remark. I would like to thank Alekos Kochliaridis and Vasilis Altzidis for the initial work at a time when nobody knew what the Kasta Tomb meant.
Είμαι χαρούμενος σήμερα που θα δώσω αυτό το...
I am delighted to present this gift and the souvenir from the tumulus to my friend Michalis. And I would like to point out the following. Today's event is the result of a 3-hour discussion that took place at the end of August 2023. We had just finished the first festival we organized in Tuzla last year, and we were sitting down with Michalis and had a 3-hour chat, drinking a glass of wine. And that's when we laid the foundations for the first Amphipolis Forum. That's where Michalis talked to me about the other festivals and everything and said, Nikos, you need to have parallel events in place. And I'd like to thank him for that discussion, which gave birth to today's forum. A very loud round of applause for Michalis. He truly deserves it.